Howdy all Moglex Lives. I think it's time to play a little Minecraft. Alright, I got a little bit of andesite on me. I got a little bit of... Well, let's get this ore in the cooker over here. I definitely don't need to be carrying around ore for the cooker. Uh... Maybe could use some sticks, I don't know. Oh yeah, I've got... Alright. Let's head in and check out my path to my villagers, as is the plan. Maybe. So I'd like to, like I said, get into maybe some villager. Uh-oh. Some villager trading. Was it down this way? But I'd like to bring the villagers home. But I also don't remember where the tunnel was. Is it just me, or is there like... Do you see this? The top row here is light. Bottom row is dark. The bottom row here is light, and the top row is dark. That's a weird thing going on with my vision here. Man, I didn't think it was this far down here. I feel like I must have traveled the wrong way. Yeah, we were, oh man, we were watching, or talking about telescopes today. My niece's birthday's coming up, and she wants the weirdest things. She's like, I want a telescope for my birthday. I'm like, you know how hard it is to sit up and use telescopes? That's weird. I really thought I had come down this pathway first, because it's right here. And, oh man, look out, guys. He's angry. Oh, there's track here. Why is there track here? I don't recall putting down track. This is my village, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna clean out this. Clean out this. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's like. I'm gonna have to go down and look. I have a feeling that this is much wider than what I was about to dig out. Those little hoglins, man. Or piglins. Piglins, they're called, not hoglins. Hoglins are the pigs, piglins are the dudes. Oh, shoot, that's a... Get out of my tunnel. I thought that was a zombie pigman. I don't know what he's doing in my tunnel. Yeah, it's 5x5, right? I need to dig out a 5x5 here. If I'm going to tie this into the old... Whoa, missed one. The old hub here. So we did play some D&D a bit this week. I know I like to talk about that in these. Had the April Fool's Minecraft this week. It was crazy. I crashed my game out. It was so bad in one spot. Some kind of infinite worlds thing where you could throw a book into a portal and um, open up new worlds you could go to. Basically, I think it was creating dimensions with random rules. I mean, they're probably not random. I'm sure it was somehow based off of the position because the book was based on the coordinates of where the bookcase that you laid down to get the book from was placed. And but that was interesting. And then D&D this week was I want to say our second week in the new campaign. I'm not as pleased with it as I thought I was going to be. I guess I need a story, and this one ain't got a story. At least so far, anyways. And the previous one barely had a story. And so it really makes me not enjoy what's going down because whoops, there's no story to anything. And so you get these big long chains of nothing. I mean, there aren't even quests at the moment, practically. I think we've got a couple, but they who knows where they even take place, and we got such little information about them that I know I mentioned it before, but so one of the quests we got, this elf woman comes to us before we head into where we're going. And what it is there's a dungeon inside the city, and it's super famous. And there's a bar or a inn tavern thing that is built over the entrance to the dungeon. It's called the Yawning Portal, and so the so to go into the Yawning Portal is it's not a big deal because lots of people go in there, but it's like a fanfare. Woo! Look, there was another band of adventurers, and everybody raises their. Well, not that we got any of that, because our DM has zero imagination as far as I can tell, and so uh, so he just said like this elf woman comes to you and tells you about a throne that's been lost somewhere in the Yawning Portal dungeon. Because it's like a huge multi-layered thing. This dungeon is, and I don't remember how many exactly levels there are to it, but it's a lot. The dungeon's so big, I believe it includes a couple of cities, and but it's all underground, and so we get this quest for this throne. Anyways, it's some elven thing. Um, the the elven woman wanted us to look for it, and so we get in there, and as we're going, we find a throne, and I was like, "Oh, is this the throne?" and it's. I mean, we don't. She didn't say anything except that it was had elvish writing on it, basically. And so our DM describes his throne. It's made out of bone, and it's got a couple of big snakes' heads on it. And so I'm like, oh, does it have the writing on it that we're supposed to be looking for? And he's like, no, there's no writing on this throne. It's obviously not elven. I don't know why you would think that this would be the throne. Well, because I don't know what an elven throne looks like. Uh, and so then we go a little bit later, and so that was the first week. And so the second week, we're going along, and we find another throne on the first floor. And and so I'm like, hey, does that throne does it have writing on it? And he's like, no, it's just a plain throne. I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, why would you think it had writing on it? I'm like, well, because uh, that elven woman was like, it's got writing on it. And he's like, I don't know why you keep asking about that throne. It's gonna be way, way later in the dungeons. You can't think that every throne is gonna be the throne. I'm sorry, you gave us a quest to find a throne. I thought it would be relevant to, I don't know, what we're doing, that maybe I should be looking for it. Not getting my head bit off because you're a whiny crybaby. I don't know what's going on here, man. Uh, because he's been getting really yelly lately. Like we go to play and we go to play one night and we're doing these stealth checks to get into to sneak around this place. And our one character, he's a thief, and so uh, that's what he does. He thieves, and he's stealthy about it. And so uh, we uh, we were having him do the stealth checks because I mean that's what he's there for, right? And so he's doing his checks. He's doing his checks. There's nothing weird going on. He's doing his checks. We're playing the game, and all of a sudden our DM goes, "Aren't you supposed to be making these rolls with advantage?" And our thief was like, "I mean, we hadn't played in at least a week, maybe more." And so I mean, and we play online, so we got these digital sheets that don't always work the best, and they're not the ones from like D&D Beyond, which what I've used so far. Those are pretty good. These are the ones that are like built into Roll20, and they are super glitchy. No, they're not super glitchy, but they're glitchy. And sometimes you'll do stuff one week, and then when you come back the next week, it hasn't recorded any of the stuff that you did the week before, or ooh, or well, dang it. Man, I'm about to break this diamond pick. I guess I should have got this bugger enchanted. I didn't enchant anything. And so the thief, he wasn't really concerned with it, uh, because I mean he was making big rolls. I mean he wasn't making them with advantage, which is a good thing. Advantage means you get to roll twice and take the higher number. but he was still succeeding and stuff, and so we were, whatever, going on about his business. And but man, our DM, he went ballistic and was yelling about how we need to be more responsible for our gear because he thought that our thief should have had these boots of elven kind, which I feel aren't being used correctly anyways, but that's a different note. And so um, and how it's ridiculous that we expect him to keep track of everything in the game. Nobody expects him to keep track of anything in the game because he can't even get the story he's reading straight out of a book right. And how we need to take some responsibility for our own characters, and we need to keep track of our own stuff, and it's ridiculous that we expect him to not only keep track of what's going on in the game, but also keep track of our stuff too on top of that. And yeah, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If that even happened, I can understand, but nobody even cared except him at that moment that our thief was making regular rolls instead of rolls with advantage, and and it was only happening because he wrote down that he had advantage on stealth checks. He just forgot about it. It was on his sheet, uh, and so there was no reason to be yelling like that, especially since we're adults. I mean, I know he thinks that everybody is a baby, um, but we're adults, and I gotta go get a new pick. And it's ridiculous to act like that ever. So I don't know what his problem is, but he needs to tone it down. I had to kind of wait and see there if Alexa was gonna. Oh wow, was gonna. I say but sometimes while I'm talking, and when I say that, sometimes Alexa wakes up thinking I'm talking to it. I've said the name twice and it hasn't responded. So I don't know why Butta sometimes makes it wake up when I just said its name twice and it didn't even respond. I don't know. You weird hockey puck. So, anyways, we got down in the dungeon some more this week. It's been rough going. It's super. Well, I don't know how tough it is, but we're having a tough time with it. And um, I mean, some of it is how like I know I talked about this in the other video that I talked about this in. But our DM rolls a lot of high numbers always, and so I was kind of hoping for some yeah, a little bit of unbreaking efficiency on there. I'll do it. That'll do. Nothing great, but my couple of levels that I've earned up since my untimely deaths. But so yeah, we I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know why he was so irate. It was ridiculous. I mean, we called him out on it. Um, but yeah, it's a rough time though. Like, I think we fought some. It's getting super annoying. He he does this thing now that's really annoying me lately, where he will give us options to do things, and then we'll pick an option, and then he'll like whine. Well, it's not whine, but he'll throw a fit that we chose the option we chose out of the options he gave us, because he thinks that the option we chose is it's not the one he wanted, I guess. And so like this week, we ended the night the previous week in the dungeon, pretty hurt. I mean, we fought a couple of groups of people, although they were rolling a lot of high-end numbers. Um, that's got to stay because I like to include the lava flows in my design. I know that I cleared one out earlier, but that was not because I didn't want the lava flow. It was because it was too low in the room. But so we're really close to the surface still. We're still on the first floor, and we got quests to go back up. So I was like, "Ooh, we'll just go back up and go to our building, because we own a building in the city at this point." And so we went back up. And so then he's like, "Well, you guys didn't use enough of your supplies, and you still got your healing potions, and you barely used any of your spells, and you're already going back up. And I mean, just 'cause you cleared stuff doesn't mean it's gonna be clear when you come back." Stuff like that. He's always saying stuff like that. "I don't know, you should go, you go in this section, it's gonna be super tough. You guys think you can kill this thing, but I'm just saying it's gonna be a tough fight, and it's probably not gonna be as easy as you think it is." You know what, dude? We're making the choices, not you. Not you. Uh, and then, and then he says, uh, I forget what we said to him, and he got all mad. He's like, "Well, maybe one of you should run the game." I'm like, "Hey, man, I tried to run the game, and you wouldn't play." "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I just kicked you out of a game because you hadn't responded in 5 months. I just wrote down that you hadn't responded in a game that you were running in over a year. So please stop pretending like someone else should do something, because you'll barely do the things that you say you're going to do, let alone do something with somebody else." Well, what? So I don't know. I don't know how this campaign's gonna go. I really did not like the previous one, and I'm hoping this one's better. But I really did not like Dragon Heist. Um, I could see the bones of something that would be fun, but as it's written and as our DM ran it, it was awful. Just straight up awful. It didn't make any sense. It didn't flow together. There was no storyline, or what storyline there was didn't make any sense. And I know I've talked about this Dragon Heist a couple times now, but I'm still dumbfounded at how weird and not an adventure it was. Uh, and because we did so like the starter kit. All right, we did the starter kit. It's called one of the starter kits. It's called uh, the Lost Mines of Phandelver, right? And so you start, and you're in. You're hired by this guy to take supplies to a town, right? Um, pretty standard start, and so you head out, and along the way you see dead horses laying in the road, and and it's an ambush by goblins. And so you deal with the ambush, and then after you deal with the ambush, and you examine the horses, you find out that these horses belong to the guy that hired you. And so if you look around a little bit, you can see where the goblins have taken the guy who's hired you and drug him off into the woods basically. And so you follow those, right? So there you go. That's a story, and it leads together. And so you follow that, and then as you're going, uh, you go to the Goblin Cave. You explore some stuff in the Goblin Cave, and then um, you fight your way through the goblins and the bugbears, and you get more information. And so you rescue this guy. I forget what his name is, but you rescue this guy, and so he's supposed to go to uh, Phandalin, which is the town. And so you take him to Phandalin, and then when you're there, there's he wants you to look for this wizard that they had sent earlier, who was supposed to be part of the whole thing, and so they're afraid that whatever's happened to the guy who hired you has also happened to this wizard, and something strange is going on. And so you when you get to the town, there's this group, and they're attacking the town. Basically, they're bandits, and they've taken over the town. And so you can deal with them, or there's some other stuff that the townsfolk need to happen. And so there's a few things, and some of them are related to the main quest. Some of them aren't. And I'm not against side quests. Don't think I'm against side quests, but they have to mean something. And so, like, we you talk to the priestess at the temple. She's covered in scratches and bruises. Well, they're not they're not from the bandits. They're from a banshee. And so she would like you to go deal with said banshee. And so that's one of the quests. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it's not anything to do with the main quest, but it's interesting. Or like, you don't know where Gundren is his name, the guy that hired you. You don't know where Gundren went to, right? So it all kind of flows together. A few side quests that maybe don't quite fit in. Um, Eventually, you figure out where Gundren's at. There's a abandoned village at one point where you can get the information about where to go, and then you gotta go to this castle. You go to the castle, and the castle leads you to where the mines are at, and then you go to the mines, and then you fight the guy who's behind everything that's going on, the Black Spider. Ooh. Right, and so then we moved on from that one, and we did. Uh, oh shoot! Nope, nope, nope. Why can't I place the block? Why won't you let me place the block? I don't understand what just happened there. They wouldn't let me place a block. Also, I don't understand what happened there. Why did I fall off? I just fell off. And so uh, that was pretty. That was pretty pieced together nicely. I thought. So then we did Princes of the Apocalypse, and Princes of the Apocalypse is a little different. They do a lot of this open world stuff. I know everybody's such a huge fan of open world, and I feel that open world greatly diminishes um, stories, and it's hard to have a good story and an open world at the same time. And so, um, not that it can't be done, and but it requires um, a little more fluidity in when, where, and how things happen. So you need to have the thing that's going to happen, right? But you need to be able to change when and where it's going to happen, or even what starts it. And so if you don't have the thing that's going to happen, then you don't have a story. And so a lot of times you get these open world things, and they're just a bunch of things that happen, but they don't relate because it's open world. But if it doesn't relate, then there's no story. And I don't want to just wander around picking my nose, basically. And so it's up to the DM to take these open world adventures. Although I don't think that's fair, because if you are able to take the adventure and craft it into a story, then chances are you're just going to craft your own story, and you're not going to use the adventure book. And so the people that are using the adventure book are the people who can't craft their own story, and so now they've got this open world thing with no story. And so that's my DM. He doesn't craft his own story. He uses what's in the book. And so we did Princes of the Apocalypse. It's way more open world than Fandelver was. And so what we wind up with is this story. Well, not even a story. There wasn't a story, basically. There were things that happened, and they may or may not relate to each other. Oh man, I'm out of andesite again. I'm always out of andesite. Um, and so, um, in that one, it's about uh, there's four princes of evil. They're like elemental beings. And so there's an evil fire, evil water, evil air, evil earth. And so they have cults that follow them. And the cults are basically attacking. All right, I've got so much junk here I don't want. Oh man, I blocked off my throwaway spot here. And so the cults are attacking. And so you've got the fire cult and the different cults are all separate, but they're all doing the same basic thing at the same time. it was never explained to us why. Um, but you don't ever fight like Captain Planet Evil, Earth, Air, Wind, Fire, uh, Heart. That doesn't happen. Um, you fight the individual cults individually, even though they're all taking place at the same time, and they all connect together. Like their dungeons all connect together. It's weird. But so you basically wander around from place to place looking for things to do, and occasionally you get a, oh look, this is a part of the storyline you've been looking at. And so I didn't like that one as much because there was no big story, and our DM does not read ahead, and so he takes whatever we're doing at that moment, and that's all he looks at. And so, like, we get to the first town, and in the first town are some quests that you don't ever actually get to solve, but they're listed in the book as uh, things you could look at. And so he gives us quests like missing miner, missing farmers, but we never get to actually do anything about that because the missing farmers and the missing, oh, I was thinking this was my spot. I have a spot here where I go down into the cave. Oh, it's over here. Um, uh, and so you never get to deal with those people because, are you kidding me? Because they are in like the final dungeon of the campaign, and you just maybe rescue them. You never get clues as to where they're at. You never get clues as to who took them. You learned about them at the beginning, and you find them at the end, and that's terrible design. Don't give me a quest and then never let me actually quest it. I don't like. It would be one thing if it was like, uh, no, just don't do it. There's no way you can give me the information that people have been abducted from their homes and then never allow me to actually do something about it. That's just terrible, and that's in the book. Or just dumb things that don't make any sense. Like, I know I'm not the author, I don't write these, but there's a quest in there. There's a quest in that Princes of Elemental Evil, um, where there's a skull on the side of the road that's mounted on a stick, and everybody's afraid of it. And if you go look at it and you touch it, you get a buff that protects you from necroman or from undead for a short period of time. But it's like a day outside of town, and it's just going to take you like a day to get back. And I don't remember how long it lasts, but I don't think it's very long. And I'm just like, what is the point of this? I mean, stop and think. Just stop and think about how this is going to work. I know this is going to go a little long because I have another one I wanted to talk about too. But just stop and think about how this works. So you've got a group of adventurers, people playing the game, right? So people are playing the game. I was playing the game, and then you give them this quest in town, and there's supposed to be this whole thing about cults. Well, there isn't a lot about the cults in the game, unless you're in their temples. They don't show up really, and they don't really do anything, and they never really seem to interact with anything. In fact, there's even other cults that have nothing to do with the main storyline that you run into pretty quickly in the game, and it's just so bizarre. And then they're like, there's this skull, and it's like a black skull, and someone spiked it to the side of the road, and it's gonna curse us all. And then you get out there, and so in the game, your characters have spent an entire day riding out to this thing, and it doesn't mean anything or do anything. And then they ride back to town. And meanwhile, it's just a ploy so that the DM can roll some dice and maybe get to attack you with a random encounter. Just in case. Like I'm all for random encounters while you're traveling, but ooh, this lava really wants to get me. But what's weird is I opened that block there and replaced it, and now the lava's flowing out on this side that it wasn't flowing out before. I don't know what you're doing, lava. And so in the end, it's like all this stuff goes down, and very little of it actually has to do with what feels like it was supposed to be the main story. I mean, it's called Princes of the Apocalypse, and it's about these evil creatures, but you spend very little of the actual game dealing with those evil creatures. Uh, and like I said, these adventure books, they've got the bones to a story, but they don't actually go anywhere with it. It feels like half the time. And then just real quick, I guess the other one we did was uh, Strahd, which is Dracula, and I know I've talked about this one a bunch, but Strahd was the same way. You're kidnapped from your own realm by Strahd, and and trapped in Barovia, which is Strahd's realm. Strahd controls Barovia, apparently, allegedly, and so nothing happens in Barovia that isn't the will of Strahd. Maybe, I don't know, because Strahd doesn't really show up that often. And when he does stuff like invite you to dinner, you know, and then you have dinner with Strahd, and then he's like, I want you to go and fight these werewolves, and I'd like you to fight this witch, and then I would like you to hunt down this guy who's trying to kill me. And so you're like, okay, and then everybody's like, Strahd, he's the ultimate evil. He's killing us all. I'm like, okay, but he invited us to dinner, and we had a dinner, and then he wants us to go hunt evil things for the most part. So, I mean, they were things we would have done anyway. How is Strahd the ultimate evil? I'm missing how Strahd is the bad guy here. We haven't. He's the one who's trapped you in this realm. I'm like, we haven't seen any evidence of that yet. Like, we know we're here. We don't know how we got here, but all we've got is deranged statements from crazy people, and the people in Barovia are crazy. Um, and yeah, so it's super weird the way they play out this Strahd campaign, and so you never quite understand what's going on, and then nothing's related. Like, you gotta go save the vineyard, right? The winery. The winery's been attacked by the Dark Druids. I never quite found out why the Dark Druids were attacking, um, or why this vineyard was so important. They there was a thing with gems, but they didn't even have them anymore. They had all been lost, and so I think we returned two of the gems, two of three, and we never found the third one. Um, And but you know what? Rescuing that winery did nothing for the rest of the game. Or like going to kill the witch had nothing to do with anything that was going on. Or there's this huge temple in the mountains that we went to because everybody told us it was going to be full of this information that we needed. And we fought all the way through it and we got all this information that we already had. And so we spent like 3 weeks, I think, in that temple, and none of it mattered. None of it was related to the story. None of it gave us information that we needed. We didn't get any tricks to killing Strahd, which everybody wanted us to do. We didn't. I mean, it was. I think that one was maybe the worst. Well, I mean, that wasn't the worst, but that was the start of where these are going, and they're all just like so not connected into a story. And I want a story. And then we did the Dragon Heist, right? And so Dragon Heist is the one that I've been talking about these past, I don't know, month or whatever, a couple of months. And the bad guy shows up at the beginning, and then the very end. Actually, the bad guy isn't in the book at all, or wasn't in our quest at all. We never once saw the bad guy. He never sent people after us. Um, we That's not true. That's not true. They showed up after everything was over, and but we had big arguments with our DM. We're like, what is? Why are we doing this? Like, I don't understand why my character would care. And he's like, well, it's the right thing to do. I'm like, why? Why is it the right thing to do? Like, these people aren't even aware. We were told that it wasn't real, that it was just a rumor, and that the city's not even aware that 500,000 gold coins were stolen from them. Like, how bad is your accounting that you don't know that you lost that much money? Uh, and then we get the thing that's supposed to tell you where the key goes, and we're like, well, I mean, if we're doing the right thing here, then that means this money has to go back to the city, and so obviously there are better people in the city who can get this gold. I mean, we can't carry 500,000 gold coins, so we're gonna need like, well, you're gonna need people to go down and get this, and not us, because we're not workers to carry this back out. And so then our DMs just throws a fit about why we won't finish the campaign, and if we quit, then we're not going to play for 2 weeks because that's how long he thinks it would take to finish the campaign. And if we're not going to finish the campaign, then we might not as well even play at all. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just saying, like, she's the head of the guard for the city. Shouldn't she have people to do this kind of thing? Like, we need, like, officials. This is, like, officials at this point. And, uh, and I feel like there's no reason for us. What about the reward? I'm like, what reward? There's no reward. The city's gonna get their money back. That doesn't help me out. And it's like, well, you'll get 10%. She said you get 50,000 gold coins. I'm like, well, at this point in the campaign, I already have like 1,200 gold coins, and that's enough to open a bar, and I could just sit around at the bar at this point. Not that I wanted to open a bar, but that was one of the things in this game. Instead of giving you a reward at the beginning, the guy gives you the deed to a tavern. And so you've got a base of operations in the city. I'm like, well, I kind of thought we had a base of operations when we started at the Yawning Portal. And so, but yeah, they don't. Everything is so disjointed in these adventure books, and I don't understand. Even the ones that have a fairly cohesive storyline still have these weird side jaunts that don't have anything to do with anything. Um, and I don't know. Maybe I just don't know. I just don't know. It's weird. I've never run an adventure book. I've run part of an adventure book, and and then the group decided they didn't want to finish, mostly because of interpersonal issues. Uh, Somebody wanted to be in charge of everybody's character, and so every time they went to do something, it was like a huge discussion on how they should play their character. So they didn't want to play. So some of the people didn't want to play anymore because they didn't want to have to discuss constantly everything that their character was going to do every turn of combat. And so we never finished that campaign. The thing is it was going on outside of my knowledge, I guess. Not my knowledge, but my purview. And so I did not see the person trying to run everybody's characters because we were playing online, and they were. Ooh, did you see a little fast zombie trying to get me? And so they all were at home because it was my brother and his family, and so he was basically trying to run everybody's character, and so they didn't want to play because they didn't want to have huge discussions on controlling the characters. But yep, that was a good weird tangent about D&D. But yeah, I feel like the one we're on now is going to be the same kind of thing. Because we got quests, our DM's already yelling at us that we're not allowed to ask questions about our quests. Uh, Things like, does this throne have writing on it? Because we were told to look for a throne with writing. This throne doesn't have. Why do you keep asking about that? Because you gave us a quest to find a throne with elven writing on it. You think it's gonna be right here on the first floor? I don't know, man. I don't know when it's gonna pop up. This is a weird throne in a hidden room. How am I supposed to know what floor it's going to be on? How about you just give us a list of when things are supposed to happen so we don't have to ask anymore. But all right, with that, click leave a like, subscription, catch the next one. I will talk to you later.